what do we have? Another little...
Well, now we have a testimonial from Reverend Sarah Grady and Reverend Ted Grady. Now, Ted and Sarah Grady both are ordained United Church ministers. Ted in Toronto Conference at Knox United in Sutton, and Sarah in London Conference at Oxford Centre and Curry's Pastoral Charge. Ted was a sexton when Mark arrived at IUC, and Mark confirmed Sarah. They were both part of the youth choir for many, many years. They will speak on behalf of all those who have been mentored here at IUC. Please come and join us.
As I listen to that introduction, I always am shocked when I come back to Islington how many new faces there are. The first thing I should clear up is that Sarah and I are sister and brother. We're not living far apart as a couple. It was an honor and a privilege to work with John and Mark for, I guess, about 12 years we were together. And when I left from Islington, the first place I worked after here was as a youth minister at Bloordale United. And Mark's predecessor, Bob Trimble, was the retired assistant there. And he was introducing me to someone one day and said, "This is Ted," or Teddy, he always called me. "This is Teddy. We stood back to back many mornings at Islington." And I think of the two of you, and I think of the times that we've stood back to back. Shortly after I was in Sutton, in the summer, I had 2 weddings booked on one day, which here isn't a big deal. But it became apparent the night before that somehow, and it wasn't my fault, they were booked at the same time on either side of Sutton. I said, I can do this. This isn't a problem. I walked through it with the two of you, and in 1 hour, I married 2 people on either end of Sutton, or 4 people. I did what I was supposed to, don't worry. So I was trying to think, Sarah let me know that I was doing this the other day, which thank you, Sarah. And she wanted to share some of what maybe we learned from the two of you, or didn't learn when we got into ministry. And I have to confess, after working with the two of you, I kind of went into ministry with my eyes wide open. There weren't a whole lot of surprises. But one thing that I was thinking of this week was when Mark was fairly new here, we used to do, and I don't know if they're doing now or not, but Easter Sunday, we would start outside. We had the Easter Sunday service. At 7:30, there was the sunrise service. But what hadn't been done before was Mark wanted to start with a fire outside. So he said, I want a nice crackling fire out there. And we had to light the fire with everyone gathered. So I'm trying to think, okay, we need this fire to get going quick. So I built a little fire pit and put the fire there. And I'm standing beside Mark at 7:30 in the morning. And Mark lights the wick for the taper. And he says, we're now going to light the first fire of Easter, which my friend here has so helpfully prepared. And he started to bend down, and as he bent down, he, out of the side of his mouth, said, why is the wood wet? I said, I soaked it in kerosene. And he stood straight back up. And with a very reverential glow, he passed the taper to me. And he said, I'm going to let my man here light the first fire of Easter. And what I learned from that is if you don't know why the wood's wet or how big the flames will be, let someone else drop the match. I'm trying to think of a story with John, which John and I spent many hours between weddings and before and after and other times over coffee, and John sharing with me the pearls of wisdom of life, and I think probably gave me a good foundation for a lot of ministry in terms of my thoughts and thinking about what I'm doing. But what I really got thinking about with John was the hours that I spent sitting at the organ here, because I'm such a gifted musician, holding notes while he would be up here tuning the organ and calling down to me, okay, next one, and he'd move up a note, and I'd move up a note. It was really tricky. But John, if you had any idea how my finger twitched to hit full stops to see if you'd fly out of that, you probably would have got someone else, but I never did do it. But I thank you both for your ministry with me, for all that you taught me, and for your friendship, mentorship, and I hope that as you move on into retirement, maybe I will see you in Sutton sometime.
Well, I'm shorter, but I'm certainly not as funny as Ted. It's hard to believe that it's been 23 years since both of you came here to Islington United Church, and when Peter mentioned that you confirmed me, I was thinking 1994 was my year of confirmation, and 20 years later, I never would have imagined in 1994 that I would be standing before a Toronto conference saying my own ordination vows and moving into the life and work and ministry. There's been so many amazing things that have shaped and formed who I am as a minister because of the two of you. I think back to those early years here at Islington for you, my teenage years, my rough and tumble years, I guess you might say, growing a choir of 6 people in a small little closet of a room to, I think we got up to about 48 kids our year that we went to Vancouver. Vancouver may have had to do something with that. And how much amazing musical knowledge that has been passed on to me for free. I haven't had to pay for a dime of it, other than maybe services in kind. I had so many amazing opportunities because of you, John, to direct children's choirs, to direct youth choirs, to sing in an amazing choir. I know, Kristen, I want to thank you for all the times we got in trouble. John, I would like to thank you for allowing us to sit behind the organ so nobody could see the things that we were doing. Just an amazing time in that youth choir, and so many memories, and I'm so happy that we're going to be sharing in music again tonight, some of those same people that we were formed and shaped together. I have to say thank you to Patty and Mark also. During those teenage years, Andrew and I got up to a few things. Patty always had to say, why is it always at my house that you do these things? For, we'd dye our hair or we'd be doing something that we shouldn't. Why is it always at the minister's house, she would say. So thank you for putting up with us through those years. I want to thank you, Mark, for a few ways that you shaped me in my ministry. You shared with me gifts of pastoral care, of preaching, of leadership, both of you of leadership, but there's a bone I have to pick with you. You never told me about the downsides of ministry, the things that you don't see. You make it look so easy. I had no idea about the Sunday afternoon coma until I got to ministry. When you finish a service on Sunday afternoon, the first thing I want to do is go home, and I do, and I have about a 4-hour nap. I call it a coma. It's 4 hours, not really a nap. So you never told me about that. John, you never told me that not every musician can or will play all of the hymns in the hymn book. That is no reflection on my current congregation. I have served in many different contexts in the last few years, but through it all, I've learned so much and gained so much wisdom from the two of you. I have been made into the person I am today through the two of you and so many people here in this space gathered here tonight. And so with deep gratitude to all of you, the 4 of you here, for all of those ways that you have been a part of my life and a part of so many here, I say thank you.
I think your late grandma was channeling through you two tonight. And by the look of you and Mark, Ted, your high foreheads, it looks like you both tossed the match in.